How's it going, my people of pop culture? Thank you for joining me today on The Collective. On my last review, I mentioned I did want to see this film. I had the chance to, and now I'm going to be bringing you the review for the Garfield movie.
You hungry, little guy? You want a little more?
So let's get right into it, guys. The Garfield movie. This film is directed by Mark Nindal. He is the director of the Chicken Little film. That's a childhood staple of mine. I've seen that thing a million times over. So I definitely am familiar with some of his work. In this film, he takes the reins of Garfield, and this film has an absolutely star-studded cast. To start off, we have Chris Pratt as Garfield. We have Samuel L. Jackson as a new character in the series by the name of Vic, who is Garfield's father. We have Ving Rhames also as a new character as Otto. You know, it's great to see Ving Rhames. I think the last thing I saw him in was Mission Impossible. But we actually also have Nicholas Hoult, which I didn't even know this. I had to do a little research after the film just to kind of get my bearings with it. And Nicholas Hoult plays John Arbuckle, and I thought that was a pleasant surprise. It being a Garfield movie and having all this star-studded cast makes me, as a Garfield fan, feel really good. I love Garfield as a kid. That's one of the books I had, one of the many books I had. I'd rent a lot of them out from the library. You know, it was easy to read, it was funny, and Garfield has always held a special place in my heart. So this story, guys, it's a little off the wall, but it obviously follows Garfield. He's going to be our protagonist, if you couldn't tell by the title of the film, The Garfield Movie. It's already kind of established he's with John and Odie in the beginning of the film. We do get some back flashes to kind of start our story off, which is actually going to feature a lot of his dad, Vic, played by Samuel L. Jackson, like I mentioned earlier. He basically does some things in his past that brings Garfield and Odie into the mess, and it kind of turns into a heist film. There's obviously some little side plot about Garfield reconnecting with his dad because he kind of abandoned him. That's why he is living with John. They show the whole story of how Garfield ended up with John and Odie. That part was really sweet. The beginning was classic Garfield. I thought Chris Pratt did a fine job. I'm going to get to all that in the pros and cons. But yeah, so this film kind of, like I said, turned into a heist film. A lot of emotions at the end, you know, with the reconnection of Garfield and his father, you know, kind of just typical cliche animated film endings, but it did have some positives to give, and we're going to get right into that. So guys, getting into the pros and cons here, I'm going to start off with the pros. I do have to mention the animation right off the bat. I don't know really what the reviews are for this movie. I've been trying to kind of stay away from them, but the animation in itself is gorgeous. Sony Pictures, you know, they obviously deliver. They did Spider-Verse, you know, they're very good with animation. So the Garfield movie, definitely, you know, I didn't really worry about that when going into this film. Chris Pratt as Garfield, and just all the voice cast, Odie, John, everybody was, you know, they're really good. It really brought the life to the film that it needed. The comedy landed, you know, Chris Pratt, Parks and Recreation, even his comedic performances kind of in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Star-Lord, you know, it obviously works here with Garfield. And it's kind of hard to get the character himself of Garfield wrong. You know, it's very simple. He does not like Mondays. He loves lasagna. And he just likes being lazy. That's basically Garfield. And Chris Pratt, you know, he did his thing. I did appreciate his performance. And everybody else, like I said, Nicholas Hoult, Samuel L. Jackson, Ving Rhames, didn't really feel like anybody phoned it in. But I did want to kind of get into the story, which is where I want to delve into the cons. So let's get into it.
Never, John. Bury me in cheese.
I apologize in advance. The eating you're about to see will not be pretty. And if you have young children, this would be a good time for them to leave the room.
Now, as much of a Garfield fan as I am, it wouldn't be fair to not get into the cons. And unfortunately, this film did have some. Getting back to kind of what I was alluding to about the story, it's kind of hard to make a Garfield movie and come up with a story. What do you make it about? You know, the live action ones with Bill Murray, they kind of did the whole how Garfield met John. They did the origin story, and they even kind of went a little off the wall with the Tale of Two Kitties, which was the sequel with that. But even, yeah, the story with that was a little weird. And this one is no different. I mean, it's different, but it's no different in terms of being not really what I would expect a Garfield film to be. This story kind of starts off with Garfield reconnecting with his dad, like we think that's what's going to happen, but it ends up just snowballing into a million different things, and what we end up getting is a heist movie where Garfield basically uses the help of the old mascot of a milk company to basically rob a truck of milk to pay back a debt that Garfield's dad had to repay to the villain of the film. It is ridiculous. It is not what I expected, like I said, of a Garfield movie to be. And it doesn't matter if whatever I expected it to be. That's not the point of it. But was it good? Not really. I didn't care for the story that much. Garfield's comedy kind of brought me back into it. Just kind of seeing Garfield on screen, Garfield and Odie's friendship together was really just heartwarming. That was honestly, if I forgot to mention that in the pros, I'm mentioning it now. It was just so sweet. I don't know. Garfield and Odie, they're just like the two best buds. They really nailed that relationship on the head. That was just amazing. But also kind of flowing downhill back to the cons, what they didn't really do is use enough of the characters that Jim Davis, the original creator of Garfield, had in store. Where was Nermal? I have no idea. It's so annoying that we didn't see Nermal. But yeah, we just didn't really see much. We did see a cool shot of a comic book store that said Jim's Comic Books, obviously in honor of Jim Davis. There were a couple lines that I actually recognized from panels from Garfield that landed, but they really needed to do more in terms of that. It just didn't really feel like a Garfield movie. It just felt like Secret Life of Pets 3. That's what I was thinking the whole time, is that I at first I thought this was an Illumination film and they just took a script from another animated project and threw Garfield in there, because that's kind of how it feels. But the heartwarming stuff is sweet. They do kind of reuse music, which I thought was really weird, especially because I think that they made a whole soundtrack with new music, and they just used like this one song like 2 or 3 times to describe Garfield's life. It was odd. Some of that was weird, but you know, it's a cute movie. It's for kids. I'm not gonna review this film like I'm gonna review Lincoln or Crazy Stupid Love, or I'm just thinking of random movies, but really good movies. I'm not gonna put them on the scale, put this film on the scale to that. I'm gonna review it like if there was a kid going to see this movie, would a kid like it? Yeah, they would. The story is not for adults. The humor does try and reach adults, and it does not land all of the time, but there are times, like I said in the pros, where the comedy does stick, and it is all because of Garfield. The whole point of the book, that's what happens in the books, you know, the comedy comes from Garfield. He is the star, and it's a cute little Garfield movie. Like I said, the kids are gonna like it. I don't know if I can get this thing to be, you know, a 3 out of 5, get it to that, you know, good rating, but I'm gonna give Garfield 2.5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely a good movie to go take your kids to. It's a nice time waster, an hour and 40 minutes, you know, if you got the time. And, you know, we need people in the movie theater, you know, it's a dying industry, unfortunately. And if Garfield can help, then Garfield can help. Go check out Garfield if you're interested, guys. If not, I'm sure it'll be on a streaming service very, very soon. I had fun with it. It was a cute little story. It's not the most intelligent animated film ever, but like every film, it has its problems. Does it mean it's unwatchable? No. So that's my review, guys. Thank you for checking out The Collective today. We got some reviews coming out in the world of wrestling. I know we're trying to get some streams coming out for video games. And I want to get some video game reviews coming out. So I gotta, you know, think about what I'm gonna do. It does take a lot longer to review a game because it takes a lot longer to play a game than it does to watch a movie. So we're trying to figure all that out, and we'll get all that info out as soon as possible. But thank you so much for checking out the review. You guys have a good one. Let's get this thing going, okay?